What's up, guys? I'm back, and this was mentioned in one of my comments as a video that I should get to. So, because I'm feeling proactive, I'm feeling energetic right now. I'm gonna get to it. So, new Law Dispute. This track is called "Environmental Catastrophe Film." I haven't watched it or listened to it yet. I'm a big Law Dispute fan. I really liked the last song I did. I'm excited that there's new music, so this should be a fun listen. Well, this should be a good listen. I don't know about fun. Before we get into it, a couple things. Please bear in mind, I am not a vocal coach. I'm not a guitar tech. I just like music. Okay, so don't expect me to be getting too into the weeds, and don't be a dick. I try to be thoughtful when I do my reviews, and I would just ask that we keep the energy in the comments polite. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. This is Environmental Catastrophe Film by Law Dispute.
We would run through the neighbor's yard, over Brook and Billentoss Street, cut the corner to the break in the trees, heading where the light sinks into the dark. Hidden path that leads to the creek and the embankment where they'd sunbathe asleep. You can see it where the light leads back and ahead. We're approaching with your knees bent down, keeping close to the slope. Crouched low under the cover of reeds, you'd sneak and reach your hand behind. Try to grab on the tail, hold it up in the air high, feeling it writhe, feeling it panic. Trying to twist from your hand clenched tight in a fist, as if trying to swim, swiping its claws toward the ground, but finding nothing underneath it could reach to break free into the water below, where you knew you should never get close. How told since birth, they leak poison throughout it all. The only history you really knew about, not how gypsum spilling out or gave a name, it dug tunnels beneath every street in the neighborhood. The ones you took to get to the woods, you knew their names, not where they came from or meant. All those dead men, fading languages left, last vestiges above intersect to the river where the creek went, where 2 centuries back they came prophesied to settle the land. Took the rapids out with the dams put down to float timber to the factories on the banks of the Grand, to build homes before they made furniture, and others came to live and worship, started a church to raise families, and their families started one to their own, and you follow in reverse where it goes backwards home to where you're staring at the water below. What would happen if you fell down the slope? If you drown, or would your body wash out? Would you carry all the way to Lake Michigan? And if you didn't, would the poison inside from the river kill you later in life? In the kitchen with your wife and your kids, eating dinner when your body gives in, and again, sitting with your family in church. Would it matter anyway if it did? If it's true what the sermon said, in heaven there's a ledger and you're there circled twice on a line in the back. Does it matter then? If he never draw a line through your name when you found that magazine in the woods, why the shame flooding in when they asked if it felt good to look at it did, and you blink and you're back, but you're no longer a kid. You're at church to say goodbye to a friend. looking back, and you can only get older. 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 Turns the lathe on the blade, sharp grade angle down. Carves away at the grain where the hand holds the blade, spins around and falls soundless to the ground. And what it takes gets swept up at the end of every day, gets thrown into the stove to burn away. Turns to flames first to burst, bright to smoke, climbs to fade, makes the steel glow with warmth. Gave to hands, touch the face, and what remains becomes an arm, becomes a leg, and when assembled at the end becomes a chair for you to sit. Became the railing on the staircase at the first place where we kissed. Became the roof, became the bed frame in our room. Became the house where we first lived, and we became what we became, what we need here just to breathe. Everything in me spinning on the lathe against the blade. Turn me into shape, carve it all away, throw it in the flames, turn it into heat, let it keep us warm, at least in me. Let me be the legs, let me hold you up, let me never break. Watch the path fall away. All our lives against the blade. Because the time goes and we change, not what we made, but what can be. Come with me to cut the yard, go where the dark flames turn to craig, through the reeds. Will you please do it just for once, do it just for me. Let me slave in the sun, let me feel your reach. Hold me out, keep me up above now, let the time break. Come and lie here with me as the train where we go before we must fall in it with me. To the rush, into the light, let it wash us all away. Becomes the wave, becomes the air, because we breathe, because our lives go only forward and we die.
Looking back, are there any things that you wished that you could have gotten accomplished that maybe just didn't get done?
I knew I had done my best. I can live with it because I've lived in it all of my life. I was born in it. So I've learned how to live with it.
Just gonna go back here and find us a nice little thing to leave it on. You know, Law Dispute has been one of my favorite bands for a long time, over a decade. They remind me a lot, and this is probably not going to be a surprise, they remind me a lot of Me Without You. Also, like Touche Amore and Pianos Become the Teeth, right? The Feeder, that era. But Me Without You, because of the contemplative nature of the lyrics. And as I was listening, many thoughts, right? It's a long song. It's like almost 9 minutes long. So there's a lot to talk about, and I'm not going to remember all of it. But I kept thinking about the end of The Great Gatsby, talking about how Gatsby always wanted to go back. He wanted to go back and change the past. And you can't change the past. You can only go forward, right? So we beat on, paddles against the current. And there is, we go through different stages in life, right? As you age, as you get older, as you start to think about past lives, past people that you were. I've been several different people in my life. And not in the sense that I was pretending to be somebody or faking who I was, but the person I was when I was 16 and the person who I was when I was 25 are different from the people that I am now, or the person that I am now. And it's part of maturing. It's part of growing. I wouldn't look cool if I was still the same person I was when I was 16. That would be very embarrassing if I was focused on the same things, driven by the same things, and worried about the same things that I was when I was 16. And there was a long time when I thought I would miss it, right? I have always been very concerned with aging and leaving parts of me behind. But the older you get, the more you start to realize that, one, it needs to happen, and two, you don't miss it the way you thought you would. There are things that I miss, about the past. There is I am one of the last generations to grow up without smartphones, like all the time, right? We had smartphones, they existed, but it wasn't everybody all the time with data, right? Sometimes you just had a phone. You didn't have access to all of the internet all of the time. And I don't know if that was better. It might not be. But I have nostalgia for it, right? I have this sense of it was simpler. But it was simpler because my life was simpler, because I wasn't responsible for anything. I didn't know what was going on in the world. I was just a kid wishing that I had a cell phone that had a full keyboard so I could text, And for better or for worse, most kids' lives are not like that anymore. And I'm grateful that I experienced that. But I don't know if it was better, But it doesn't matter, because we live in the present. And we will be living in the future very soon. And the future is looking grim. I grew up Christian, very, very Christian, very religious. My dad is a preacher, very committed. And I think one of the worst things that Christianity has done, and I'm not saying that you're bad if you're a Christian, but Christianity is at its core apocalyptic, right? And that doesn't mean that everybody's waiting for the end of the world. It doesn't mean it's all end time stuff. But it is apocalyptic in the sense that Christians aren't worried about this world. Now, I'm not going to get too into the weeds on this, okay? But Christians are in charge. Again, I'll say Christians, all right? Just so if you are very connected to your faith and you don't like how you're being represented, you can push them off and say they're not real Christians. But people who have been motivated by Christian theology and ideology for the last 100 years have been killing the world, basically, because they do not care. Christians don't care what happens to this world, what happens to the people that live after them, because this is not what it's about. It's about the spiritual world. It's about the life after this one. So it doesn't matter if the stuff we're putting in the water gives people cancer, or right, all the PFCs. They don't care if the microplastics are getting into your bloodstream. We don't care if there's lead paint. We don't care if the asbestos gives you cancer. We don't care if clear-cutting forests makes life worse for people. They don't care if people don't have access to good education or good health care or good food. They don't care because you're not supposed to care about this world. It doesn't matter. The next world is what matters. If you're right with God, then this doesn't matter. Right? Who cares about segregation? Who cares about equal access to education? Who cares about racism and anti-Semitism and war? Who cares? Because it doesn't matter. It's all about the next life. This life is meaningless. And when you think like that, you act like that, and you make decisions based on that. And as a result, you fuck people. It is consumption without any thought of tomorrow. And now look where we are. I don't know. I could talk about that more, but I'm not going to. It's a great song. I really like this. It is long, kind of hearkening back to the days of Andrea, King Park, some of the longer, more off the cuff sorts of songs. But very much bringing back the memory of the early La Dispute. I don't think they need to be the band they were in 2008. All right, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there was a lot of stuff from the early albums in La Dispute that I really liked, and this kind of reminds me of that, which is nice. I like to hear the stuff that I like. Yeah, give me your thoughts. If you watch to the end, I'm happy to engage, chat with you about stuff. I like to hear what people think. But I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good day. Stay safe out there. Be good to each other. And don't talk to cops.